Hey guys, my name is Edgar and I'm the owner of Micheladas El Gordo and Gordo's Cafecito. The reason why we're doing this channel is for the purposes of sharing my personal experience and the reality behind a lot of small businesses that really go through. This is all 100% true, 100% reality, raw. All right guys, so this is the extended version of the video that went viral. Well, we think it went viral because we did get a lot of comments, a lot of information. We got over 4 million visitors in the page, so it was something good. So this is the extended version again. Here we go. So it was more than anything, the purposes of this is for people not to make those mistakes I made as a upcoming business. So the story goes like this. We've been in business for about 9 years. And initially, when I started with the candy business, it was something that was just to survive. It was something that it was a side hustle. I had no job. I had nothing to my name. I just had this opportunity or creation or whatever you want to call it. So at the time, I think it was about 2023, 22. At the time, I was just selling gummy bears, worms, and peach rings. So one of the topics that I used to get a lot, or one of the questions that people used to always ask, hey, you should do gushers, you should do this, this and that. But in reality, that product itself is really, really, really expensive. So the math wasn't mathing for me to even try to look into it. Just the fact that one, it's hard to get it wholesale. Two, it's a lot of labor behind it, especially when you first start, you start from the very bottom. You go to Smart and Final, you go to Sam's Club, Walmart, and you start off with little packages. So the time came around where the request was so out there that we're like, all right, let's try it. So we started doing it, we were getting known already with our brand, Micheladas El Gordo. So it was something that it had to happen. It just had to happen because it was a request. It had to happen no matter what. So what I did was let's work on the label. At the time, I really didn't see myself where I'm at now. Social media, stores, markets, you name it. So at the time when I created this candy, it started with the name Omg Gushers. And it was literally the same label, the same sticker, the same colors. It was the same thing. Remember, I was nothing. I wasn't really somebody really out there known. So all these things did not apply to me where oh, you're gonna get sued or you're gonna get this. It was one of those things whatever, let's just run it and we go from there. So next thing you know, we start packaging it. We start packaging it on our bags. At the time, we didn't have all this. It was simple black bags from Amazon, So we started doing it. We start getting gushers. We start cutting them up. We start putting in work. We start, just doing our thing. And what happened was that we got to a point where the demand was so high that we couldn't keep up. It was so the way it works is I used to go to the stores and I used to go to how I used to sell my candy. It was one box of gushers, one box of worms, one box of toxicas, one box of lumbre rings. And they wanted 20 boxes of gushers. Imagine that. You have a problem that is the problem that everybody wants. You want to be busy. You want to be, more than anything, pay bills. Just do it. So it just started. I started hustling. I started going into Sam's Club. I started going into Costco's. I started just buying, boom, left to right. And that's the biggest mistake I did because at the time we didn't know numbers. We didn't know what business was. And I honest to God, now 9-10 years into the business, I could tell you guys I'm still learning. But one of the things was just getting the customer happy, doing it, wrapping it, and just going with it. So the name came about like OMG, like, oh my gosh, like gushers and oh my gushers. So, OMG. So that's really where I got the idea from. And I ran with it. I did with it. Next thing you know, we're like, people are tagging us. We're selling it. We're shipping it. We're shipping it out nationwide. We're just sending it out. Like, we're just doing it. We were selling out more than what we were keeping up with production. So I start feeling the feeling in your stomach, like, man, something about this is it doesn't seem good. But at the point when you have nothing to your name, when you have lost everything in your life, when you're like pretty much nothing really matters. Nothing matters, and nothing that goes around you could affect you being without a house, without pretty much just being like, I don't want to say homeless because I still had somewhere to go, but at the time it was just whatever worked, let's take care of it, like let's take advantage, and that was the goal. At least for the beginning of what Micheladas Gordo and the whole OMG situation. So here we go. People are tagging us. At the time, I didn't know about like online. I didn't know about e-commerce. I didn't know anything that had to do with wholesale, anything that had to do with pretty much sales. So my thing was just selling it. I was just selling it to the stores. People will come and be like, hey, I want 100 boxes, 300. And I'm like, I can't even get fucking 2 boxes for me, So they start selling it online. So what happened was that the product, Micheladas de Gordo, oh my gushers, was a product that was so hot that when you looked up gushers in general, Micheladas de Gordo label will come out next to oh my gosh, or OMG and gushers. It was something like compare. It's like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. At least that's how people told me that's how it looked. So yeah, we started getting attention, and we're like, man, like just run it, till the wheels fall off. So it got to a point where people was the same question. Every time I went to the stores, every time I saw somebody, they were like, hey, they're not gonna sue you? Like, you sure you're doing this right? I was like, I'm too small. Why would they even want to look into me? That was my mentality. So after so many people and so much traffic and so much like chisme, gossip, like it was something that got scared. So what I did is on my next run where I was doing my labels, I added a little disclaimer on the bag. I think it was like somewhere in the bottom by the UPC number. And what it said, it was Gushers is a registered trademark owned by General Mills. That was my disclaimer in my package because, clearly that's not my name. Even though back then I didn't know what the trademark laws, I didn't know anything that had to do with the whole trademark thing. So to me, I thought that was more than enough because I'm giving them credit. Like that's, this is not my product. This name is owned by them. But in reality, I was selling it under my name. So we start, getting out there. Then we start getting competition. We start getting other brands, other companies that start doing the same thing. And I feel like within a lot of that going on, and especially you getting a lot of attention, you get a lot of people that pretty much, like they hate on you or they're just sour, whatever the case is. So what I'm thinking is like they started contacting General Mills. They start saying, hey, there's this product that I bought and that was yours, and it was not the product. So more than anything, you guys have to understand that General Mills is a company that stands with standards, their beliefs, like everything with General Mills that has to do with General Mills has a lot to do with kids. It has to do a lot with education. They're one of the biggest companies out there, cereal, you name it. So at the time, more than anything, like the name was always an issue for me. Micheladas, people always thought that it was like an alcoholic beverage. or alcoholic candy. So that's where all the problems start coming in. Like people are starting complaining. At the time, I didn't care because I was like, whatever. Like, you know, I'm just just a random guy, you know, like trying to make ends meet. And so I think it was about what is it, like a year? It was a year in the making of this product, selling it wholesale, this, and that. So I get an email. From, it said General Mills. My heart dropped to the ground when I saw that. It was something that I didn't even know how to process. Like I was just like in shock. I was like, what? Like, even to think about it, I get the feeling, you know, the feeling that you get, because remember when you first starting, your confidence level is not where you want it to be, because you're starting into the business, you're starting into getting to know the world and the sales. So more than anything, I was still growing. I was still going through a lot of emotional problems. I was going through the transition of leaving my 9 to 5 to becoming my own business or creator, whatever you want to call it. So what I did was I got stuck. I couldn't even talk. I couldn't believe that this big multi-billion company reached out to me and say, like, this came to our attention that you're using our name and so on and so on. And I was just like, what am I gonna do? So the whole email, we'll put it on the screen so you guys could read it later on in the video, so you guys could pause it and read it. But the whole thing about this was you have, I think it was like 36 hours, somewhere in the nature, to reply back or to pretty much confirm that you received the letter. So I got scared. I didn't know what to do. What happened was that when you don't have control of your product, people could do whatever they want with it. So a lot of it was because through Amazon, there was store owners, or there was people that were in the wholesale business that were buying it, and they were selling it at Amazon Prime, and so it was out there. So people were just like, "What's this? What's that?" So we were one of the first companies that actually got hit with the cease and desist, and however you say it, you know. And sure enough, I had to make changes. I had to make changes in the sense of, like, I didn't even know how to reply to the email. I was like, what do I say? Like, you know, I was like, what can I do type thing. I didn't know what to do. So I replied back to them and was like, you know, our intentions was not to do any, like, you know, trademark infractions or anything like that, so on and so on. And they were like, pretty much, thank you for reaching back, and, you know, that whole professional way of them talking. And so in the email, it say that they were flattered that we made a product with their product. And yeah, they were flattered and this and that. And to me, that was kind of like a break, because they were analyzing our business, our small business, compared to their business, that we were doing something good of their product. So they pretty much was like, you need to stop. They told me that you need to change the name. You cannot use anything that has to use with us. So what happened there, we started a relationship. We started a back and forth relationship where it was like, okay, you need to do this, you can't do that. So what I started doing is I got with my graphic designer, and we started designing labels. So I came up with the OMG, what was it? It was OMG Gush. And they sent us another email. They're like, you know what? I don't know if they thought that we knew what they were saying, but that email say, if you don't completely stop using our name, you can't use the word gush, gushies, like splash. You cannot use anything that has to be with them. So I was sending them, you know, labels, and they're like, no, you're still using. And it was getting frustrating, because remember, the customer only knows the name. So when they go to the store, I want to get gushers. Like, I want the chamoy gushers. They're not going to be like, oh, I want micheladas el gordo, or I want this, and that. Like they want just the name Gushers. So when they see the name on the package, it doesn't matter who makes it. As long as that name is there, people will buy it. So my thing was, I didn't want to not use the name, because that was obviously the money maker. That was like actually the business. So when they said that, I was like, man, okay. I couldn't, so I changed it. We sent the final logo was OMG Candy, and that was it. It was nothing that had to do with Gushers, nothing that, nothing at all. It was just OMG Candy, and that was it. They looked at it, they're like, okay, we approve of this, you're good to go. And that was it. That was the last of it. And I get another email. Now this time I had already printed like 20,000 labels. Every time I was printing labels, I was selling more than what I was producing. So when they kept saying, okay, that one's not good, it was loss of money, loss of everything, education, everything that had to do with that particular product or that, incident was always a loss. So the people that had bought our candy were still selling it. There was no control. They were selling it on Amazon, and they keep telling us like, hey, you have about 24 hours to remove this stuff from Amazon, because we already talked about it. And I couldn't not even answer them. I couldn't even tell them like, it's not me, because honest to God, it wasn't me. Think about it. You're the creator of something, somebody buys it, and they sell it wherever they want to sell it, and that's it. So at the time, I think it was so hard for me to get a contact with them or whoever they were selling it. It was a company out of San Diego. I don't know who it was. To this day, I don't know who it was, but I know that they were really keeping up with what was going on, because they were changing all the samples I was doing. They were using it, but in the end, they didn't want to lose their business, because they were the only ones selling online, because I didn't know anything about the whole business. So I convinced the company that it wasn't me. Like I showed them my information, my credentials, who I am, what's my name. And I had proof that was not my company, but I would do my best to get a hold of them. So yeah, that was the biggest and most challenging experience I went through. So coming back to this story and to this video that we started this channel was, the purpose of it is to teach people or to give advice, or more than anything, this is my experience. I'm not giving you guys advice. I'm not a person that wants to sell you a book or a course. Like everybody now these days try to make money off of information. Remember, when I first started, I had no information of nothing. I didn't know anything. I just knew I had to survive, and I knew I had a passion for candy, and that was my goal. So the purpose of this video is to share with you detail by detail all the things that Micheladas El Gordo went through, and the things that you could obviously avoid. And remember, it's just personal experience. It's my experience. You take it if you want to take it, and if you don't, that's on you. So years later, I knew I had something. I knew I had a voice. More than anything, I know, everybody's chismosos. Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know everything. It's like the people they're in traffic. They're like, come on, you go. But when it's your turn to look at the accident, you're the first one that stops and kind of it's literally like that. People want to know everything. People want to know you. They want to know how you did it. Just to break it down, we have about roughly around 6,000 stores that sell our products. So we have a lot of distributors. So when I started wanting to talk about the content and believing that I had something to share with people that were upcoming, it was something that I wanted to start. And I wanted to start off with this experience that I just, shared with you guys. More than anything, remember, fear would destroy somebody. So I knew it was time for me to, share more about who I am and my experiences. So I had my wife record me. We're at the warehouse. We're doing our thing, moving boxes. And I had printed out that maybe 2 days ago, and that was the plan, to share and just more than anything, to share the experience for entertainment and learning purposes. That was my goal. That's why I wanted to do this. So we're there. She's recording. I'm busy. It's a Saturday. We're getting things ready for the next week. I upload it and I just forget about the video. I think it was like 5-10 minutes into it. My phone kept blowing up like bling, bling, bling. It was just like frozen. I was like, what? Like, I was surprised. Like what's going on? The amount of traffic that this video got was overwhelming. I think the first day was 500,000 within hours. And deep inside me, I was excited. But more than anything, the consequences that comes with somebody does a video, or the consequences of what you're gonna face and how you're gonna face it as a business person and how you're gonna see it. So it kept going, it kept going into the afternoon. It was already hitting like hundreds and hundreds of thousands, like a lot of likes, a lot of comments. More than anything, what made this video or learning experience was learning that there's more hate in this world, or think about it, 90% of the comments were negative. 90% were negative. A lot of them were people laughing, people like just being like mean, So I was like, my wife is telling me, do not reply to them, don't talk to them. And I'm like, nah, they're gonna hear it, blah, blah, blah. I'm mad because I know that it's not happening, but just the amount of hate and the amount of bad things, it could destroy somebody. The person that tells you that it does not affect them, that person is lying. You're lying if you say that nothing like this affects you. Of course it affects you. Because remember, everybody has to process something before they ignore it or before they go about it. So just the part of processing it, like the process point of seeing, because you're laying down or you're doing your thing and you're getting the notifications and you're reading the comments like apenas, you're like, oh shit. So here and there I will look at the messages and people will actually tag gushers and General Mills. They will tag them and they'll be like, yeah, get their money or this and that. And people were saying, what do you thought you were gonna make money off somebody else's product? It was so unhealthy. Like that day was it was good because of the publicity, but it was really challenging as a business person or as a, in the business being for years, just being quiet. More than anything, I have a big mouth. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, what I think, what I'm gonna think. I'm gonna be real. So I did reply to a few of them, and from there it just got so overwhelming that I didn't care no more. I didn't want to read them because it was too much. But yeah, we're getting comments from left to right. We're getting DMs. People are calling me. People are stopping me everywhere I go. Hey, so what's up with the lawsuit? Like everywhere I went that weekend, people knew who I was. I could be anywhere 45 to 2 hours away from where I'm from, and people knew who I was. And the same thing was like, what happened? Why are you getting sued? The same conversation. So that's how this whole YouTube channel wanted to come out, because there's so much to talk about it. And and when you're on Instagram, you have 3 minutes to get your point out there. So this happened, and from there I started my whole experience and sharing my experiences, and then they went from there. And here we are sharing the experience. And I could tell you guys that this company knows that, I sell their product. They're fully aware. They know who I am, and they know everybody out there. So if you're a small company, remember, companies like them, any company, Coca-Cola, Lay's, any company that you see out in the market, remember, they have district managers, they have sales reps, they have media, they have a whole department that takes care of their product and their name. So when you're at a 7-Eleven and somebody's there for marketing purposes or whatever the case is, they're gonna see your product. and they're gonna see that you're using the word gush, gushies, or squirts. Remember, you cannot use anything that rephrase back to them, like even on the form of the product, gush. You cannot use anything that has to do with gushers. So usually that's what happens. These people will do their job, be in the store, look at products, they'll get it. It's like, hey, we don't have this. We never did that. And that's how they find companies, and that's how they go after you. So keep that in mind. Next time you want to do chamoy candy, you just have to know it has to be you. You are the creator. Make your logo, and that's it. And run with it. And it's not illegal to repackage candy. I'm telling you that right now. People swear up and down that they're lawyers. People would say whatever they say, that's whatever it says. But in reality, you are allowed to buy anything in this world, resell it, and use another name with no legal action because you bought the product. It's your product. You do whatever you want with it. The part here that is different is when you start using any terminology that has to do with that product. The outcome of the video was good and bad. Going back to the whole negativity, the way it affected me was more than anything publicity. Our name was put out there. It was something that was pretty much the topic of the night, the topic of the day, the topic of the week. So overall, it was an overwhelming good feeling and at the same time bad feeling because remember, you get to a point where you're already somewhat known, you're out there, but once people start stopping you, it's always the same thing. And the gushers and that and this and that. So more than anything, the growth that went with the business, more publicity, more sales, more to talk about, even though it was something that changed our way of seeing this particular problem that happened years ago. It was more of learning as a professional and somewhat like, learn how to just continue living with scenarios like this and being able to learn from them and pretty much run with it because a lot of the times people will shut down and will let somebody's opinion affect them. And I think that's one of the things that made me more stronger in the sense of being more, what's the word I want to use? Self-confident to be able to talk, self-confident to be able to share what I have. Because when you start a business, nobody's going to tell you where to buy things, how to do it, the barcodes, what to do, what not to do. So I think more than anything is me sharing that because when I started, it was really tough, but here we are. So after the change of my Gushers label, my business went down because people were not seeing that no more, Even the store owners were telling me like, we can't buy it if it doesn't have the colors, if it doesn't have that. But remember, you cannot use colors, you cannot use fonts, you cannot use anything that has to do with them. So overall, changing the whole layout, it was really hard to pretty much do business because you couldn't promote it like, oh, this is what it is when the product doesn't say that's what it is. So we lost a lot of business. We lost a lot of accounts because they didn't care if I tell them that this product is what it is, but if it didn't have the label, they did not want to buy it. And to this day, I feel like a lot of people don't know that that's what we're selling or that's what we use because of the name of the label. And yeah, I think it was wrong. At the time, I didn't know any better. Obviously, you will always learn. The minute that you say you know everything, that's when you lose. That's when you know that you're not ready. You still have a lot of years to growth. So where I'm going with that is I just knew that we had to just move forward, move forward with these decisions and kind of go from there. More than anything, the business of food and candy. Remember, don't be afraid to start a business because you think what people are going to say about it. People are gonna make fun of you. Remember, something that I've learned throughout these years of the candy business or anything that has to do with sales, if you're not the creator, if you're not the person that actually created the product itself, you cannot say that they're copying you, or you cannot be like, oh, I was the first one. You cannot say that. Like, don't be an idiot. If you did not create that, you didn't create it. Because a lot of people talk to me, I'll go to another business that sells the same thing as me, the same products, and we're just different businesses, different names, and that's it. We're not the creator, so I cannot be like, Micheladas or Gordo created this, because I didn't create shit. It was something that was out there. Remember, there's a million things out there. A million things, a million ideas, and it only takes one to make $1 million.